Hi everyone, Christine here at Sparkbird, and I'm really happy that you're here, and welcome new people, and welcome old people, and welcome all people. I'm today going to share with you a book that I just finished, or mainly finished. I'll still fiddle with it a little bit more, and it's not this one, but it's based on this one. So last year I made this book, and it, as you can see, mimics tree bark. And it's a small little book, and one of my favorites. And the story behind this book was that there was a young diarist, and she lost her original journal while running through the woods, and she had to make a new one with only materials she could find there in the forest. So that's how this book came to be. It was based on a story I was writing at the time. And so it was mainly, some jelly printed decorated papers, some other decorated papers, some wax paper. There's some actual handmade paper. And it was just all of these natural feeling papers. And then the velvet on the end papers was meant to be the underlining of her cape. So this was just something that was a lot of fun. It again uses my Shizozu alphabet on it. But after I was finished with it, and I love it, I thought what I really want is to create a book that feels like you reached in and just yanked a book or journal out of a tree. So looking at this one, which was made with hardboard, or I guess what they call masonite now, that's what this was made with, and the spine is basically painted muslin. That's how I made this one. So I had a new idea that would require I finish the book that was already assembled. So I grabbed a book cover from a book I'd gutted, similar to this one, and used that as the foundation for the new book. And you're going to see in the video when I show how I did the cover of the new book that there's a second book. That's because I made two, and it's also a Reader's Digest, which is why I'm showing you this. But I made two books at the same time, each very different ultimately, and I'm working on the second of those two now. The truth is, I did that back in December, and now I'm just finally getting to it. But here is the book that I created that was very much in keeping with my goal, which was to create a book that could appear as though you just simply yanked it out of a tree. And in doing that, I created the cover that feels like bark, and it goes all the way around and feels like bark, and has pages that come all the way to the edge, and every side of every page has been hand deckled. That was oh so much fun. And then there's these tree or leaves that might have fallen, and this grass or large leaf that's keeping it wrapped up closed. On the spine, there's a little doodad here with an actual fern and some moss, and here's some greenery, both artificial and natural, that seems to be growing out of the book. And then here on the bottom, there's some more mossy feeling material coming out the bottom. So the book opens, I don't know if you saw that, the book opens by simply removing this piece of grass, or I keep calling it a piece of grass because it looks like a huge blade of grass. And then the book opens. And here, of course, are tree rings. Sorry, put it in the middle. Here are tree rings, and there are tree rings on both sides because it felt like that's how it should be. And this is one sheet that I cut using the Sumi Nagashi technique of floating ink on water. I did video it. It was the first time I'd ever done it. I may now do it every day for the rest of my life, but I can share with you my experience with it. Otherwise, it's definitely available on the internet. So this jelly printed pages, and this piece here is very filmy and translucent and fibrous, is meant to represent the mycorrhizal network, which is what trees and mushrooms, it's the network through which they communicate, and they send each other nutrients, and they help each other. It's a very symbiotic network that happens underground. And I thought that was really important to trees and to a tree, a book about a tree. And so then there was eco prints that I had done, and there's several of those. Of course, there are birds, because there are birds in trees, and there are some journaling spots. And this was a flash card that I ran through my embosser. I happen to have a wood grain embossing folder. This was actually one of my paperclip kits that I just printed and used as a tag instead. And eco print, I added this leaf. I was originally planning on closing all of these like you've seen me do before, and making them into sort of envelopes or accordion envelopes, but many of them are so pretty on both sides I didn't want to seal them up. So I'm leaving that for whoever winds up with this book. They can decide how they want to treat those. But here is one of the hidden paper clips. Excuse me. Hidden paper clips, and here you can see I'm using it just as a removable tuck spot, that it can be added to any page. Maybe not the best page to think about doing it to, but, and then you could just put your items on the page. So most of my designs, excuse me, though not all, are designed so they can be snipped anywhere to become paper clips, but they can also be used snipped longer or shorter to be tuck spots. So that's the newest kit that's going into my shop. So we won't put that back for now. There's a little envelope with some sewing and some cards. You know, there's some bugs, because of course there's bugs, and there's bird eggs. And we go through, there's more mycorrhizal, which honestly, this is a Bounce pet hair fabric sheet softener for the dryer sheet. Worked perfectly. And so here's some stitched pages for lines, and some very tenderly threads hanging out that could be roots or network, you know, part of the network. And here's more suminagashi on the Asian paper, the printable Asian paper. I'll get you the name of that. I keep forgetting. That was a jelly print that I then also did the wax technique on by ironing the wax. So you can see it's a little bit translucent, and I really like that. And then I just printed on the other side. This was my first ever successful, what do you call it? Image transfer on a jelly plate. I've tried several times and I could never get it to work. And it's because I learned something you might all like to know, that it is my toner, my printer was not laying down enough toner to make it work. So I fixed that and now it works. I'll try that some more someday. So then it's just, again, a lot of eco prints. Here's a page that I sewed the lines in to mimic the holes made by a yellow-bellied sapsucker. That's what they tend to do. They go around the tree in lines. And this, I thought, well, it just added lines to a page if you wanted to write on lines. And more prints. And then here's a little pad that was actually made from some of the cutoffs from this book, which I still have. And it's just a pad, and all the pages are perforated so they can be torn off once they're used, and then you could just undo it and refill it with paper of your own. So this goes in here, and then it is just a collection of things. This is a leaf done with the same method as the outside leaves, and I'm thinking it will be a bookmark. And this was a image that sort of connects the human impact and trees, our relationship to trees, the giving shade here, being the house, is made of wood. So I made this little card, this little journaly, or this little pocket card, and left the tendrils as though these are maybe like little bug trails or something. Again, it's super interpretive, and this book can be interpreted in so many ways. Here, this is a lumber and timber measure, because I think, again, to remind us of our interaction with trees and our impact on trees. Little tuck spot, some more mossy feeling, some birds, more eco print. Oh, but this one has one of my favorite quotes. Trees and stones will teach you that which you can never learn from masters. And I feel like that is so true. And there's so much evidence and so many studies that point to just go outside, you know, be in the trees or nature or wherever. Just go outside. So anyway, so there's more, and then here's a little nest. Again, very artistically interpreted. Everything has its little meaning to me, and it will, I'm sure, mean something to everybody else. Here's more dotted lines, lemon tree music, another eco print. All of these are in my shop, by the way, if you want to get some without getting your hands dirty. But I do suggest, if you're at all into it, do some eco printing. It is simple and fun, and the results are really, really enjoyable. And then the last page here has a poem that I wrote. It's part of a series called The Poem Stones. Also the picture, I took the picture. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to, whoever gets this book, they can read it. That's it. There's the book. So I'm going to show you how to create the cover and do some of the other elements, like these elements in the book and the Suminagashi printing. I'm not going to go through every single step of creating this book. First of all, it would bore you to tears because like hand decaling all this paper, you know how to decal paper, you rip it. And then sewing in the signatures, I could show you, and I may show parts of it, and I'll show how I put the signatures in, but I'm not going to show you the entire process. It's just too long. And there's so many similar videos out there. And my goal here is really to try and spark you to think about new things and not replicate what everybody else is doing. So anyway, there's the book. I'm loving it. And I feel like it could be a lot of fun for those of you who have a need or want to make a very natural feeling organic journal. This could be a solution for you. So let's go and I'll show you how I did it.